Welcome back to the 2023 FVC Summer Series. Round 4 at Monaco is underway. Qualifying starting very shortly. We've got 18 minutes on the clock for all 16 drivers currently with us. Another few will be joining us throughout the session as well. Notable events of today, we've got the return of a older driver, Weepier by 9041, coming from, if I remember correctly, all the way the 2022 Summer Series, or possibly even earlier. One of the McLarens immediately coming out. Unsure on who that is, we will head over with them. It's going to be the McLaren of King. King, obviously a very fast driver in this series, definitely capable of taking pole position today. However, there are a number of drivers also to watch. The technical aspects of this circuit are much different to anything else on the calendar. It's a lot tighter and a lot harder to get right. As the drivers slowly start coming out and get ready for their first flying lap, let's take a look at the previous pole positions around this circuit. Last time out in the 2022 Summer Series, Treeboy53 managed to take pole position. Before that though, in the 2021 Summer Series, Azzy was the one on pole. Season 1 went to Ryan Joyce, however that was before the league era of the FVC, and as such, not a driver that we have with us. Azzy though is going to be looking to take the most poles, continue her record of the season, also on the hunt back after some unfortunate developments that happened at Bahrain. Going around the ending of the circuit, let's jump on board with the McLaren of King, see how he manages to get around all the corners of Monaco. It's a lot tighter, as you can see, heading through the final corners. Wide open throttle down the first DRS zone all the way. It's a slight right-hander all the way up to the first corner. Thankfully, the cars coming out of pit lane do cut across the first corner, but you've got to be careful. They can come out very far and block you, as we see with the Alfa Romeo. Very little space there. Dives to the right-hand side, gets through perfectly though, slight contact with the wall. Moving up through the ending of the first sector, it's a long left-hander followed by a 90-degree right. You've got to avoid this little bump here. You can spin up the wheels if you're not careful. Then heading down into the casino, it's a purple first sector. Not surprising for our first flying lap out. Tightest section, slowest corner on the entire F1 calendar. Going round the hairpin at the casino, you've got to get it in perfectly. You cannot go too wide there at all, but navigates it well. Now, through the middle of the second sector, coming out under the through the tunnel, it's wide open right-hander. You've got to be careful in the exit though. You can get blinded very easily. It's very bright coming out of this. And as your eyes adjust, you have to get right on the brakes and into this left-right hard chicane. If you miss that as well, you could be very much getting in penalty very easily. Purple middle sector unsurprising for King. Little bit of too much steering angle through the second chicane, having to jump right on the opposite lot, getting it back in way. Final round, final two corners, gets it out well. Coming across the line, the benchmark's going to be set at a 1:12.726 from the McLaren. Up next is going to be the AlphaTauri of Tristan to start the flying lap, as well as Weepier, our returnee for the Alfa Romeo driver, also going for a first flying lap. The dirty air is going to be a little harder for him, but soft comfort tyres for the Alfa Romeo driver. Yellow flag is the middle sector coming through out of the tunnel into that chicane, one of the Aston Martins. As Blah heads into first place at a 1:11.836. Also coming across the line is going to be Harrison M for the second McLaren, a 1:12.482. The two McLarens getting very close together. Let's jump over to the Haas of Azzy, pursuing ending out her first flying lap. Indeed, she is a 1:12.023 soft tires, only 0.2 of a second out off of pole. She can definitely take that though, as we see one of the Aston Martins behind starting a flying lap. Second Haas of Apex is up next to come across the line, moves up into 5th place with 1:14.443. But immediately misses the braking zone into turn 1 and hits the barrier immediately out of the session. Only one lap and not a good one at that. That is devastating for the Haas driver. As Tristan heads into pole position, a 1:11.448. As my replay keys are not working, I will quickly get on that, fixing it as for the next incident to occur. Driver's going to have to be careful through turn 1 as that car finally gets cleared away, as we see it popping out of existence in the background. Number more drivers setting their first flying laps. Simon with a 1:12.786, very close to King, as well as Dorado sitting at 1:13.436 and Weepier a 1:13.969. 13s are also very off pace, they're not going to be what you want to be setting here. Pole position time might even be in the 10s if the drivers can get the lap right. Pixels are 1:14.290 as there is a stationary Aston Martin off Saskia, letting the flying cars go by. A lot of disconnecting from the session, hopefully it'll be able to get in within the next 12 minutes. If there's anyone you want me to jump on board with or have a watch anywhere along the grid, please let me know. Getting through the final section with Simon Baker, we can just see how fast it is around there, even when you're on a cooldown lap. Williams driver heading into pit lane to get prepared for the next lap, as is the Red Bull of Dorado, who has an invalidated lap. Up next to start one of the flying laps is going to be Saskia, never mind, not going to be starting a lap. Broken front wing and Aston Martin heading right into pit lane. Also going to be heading to pit lane, I believe, is going to be a McLaren behind. No, it is not. McLaren going for another lap. That's going to be Harrison now maybe completing a second lap, jumping up into second to 1:11.791, Blah getting back into the session for Alfa Romeo. Up next is going to be the Alpine of Scarlett to finish up her first flying lap, heading around the final corner just a little bit over that left-hand curb. 1:13.064 for the Alpine driver. Definitely can go faster and definitely not where you want to be, but the setup, from what I've heard out of Alpine, is not great this weekend. For some drivers, they're going to be trying to have everything as they don't have anything to lose, but for some, you want to just make it to the end and get finished, because points are very much on the table for everybody. Anything can happen at this track. Jump on down to the AlphaTauri of Curly, coming around the final corner, turn 19. Corners on this track can come at you thick and fast, and it's a 1:12.760 for the AlphaTauri driver. Previous race winner, he can definitely prove his worth come the day. Purple first sector, one of the Aston Martins went off, that's going to be Pixels. Running down the escape road, we can still see the loose tyre from the crashed out Haas of Apex. King going into first with a 1:11.255, 0.2 of a second over the AlphaTauri of Tristan. Also to note, Harrison M still on a 1:11.791. Well, yes, McLaren's coming up quick behind the Aston Martin. It's over to Azzy, who's currently on another flying lap. 1:12.023 for her to beat. Definitely is possible for her to get into the 11s, possibly even the 10s come the right lap. Jump on board with her for the rest of the lap. Hard breaking down into the chicane. Must be nerve-wracking heading into there with another car behind you, as you don't know if they miss their braking zone. It is you in the firing line and there's nowhere for them to go. Purple middle sector for the Haas driver, moving very quickly through the final chicanes, heading into turns 18 and 19. Just too big to get double apex, however they are two very, very similar corners. Plugging into the right hand side wall, nearly hitting a car, but a 1:10.869 for the Haas driver. Pole position by 0.4 of a second, D75 getting into the session for Mercedes. Another one of our previous race winners and very fast driver, Season 5 champion. Looking to defend his title moving into the Summer Series, however, Azzy with the statement of intent to get the driver's title. Going to be a very close battle between those two for sure. Harrison M disconnecting from the session. 8 minutes to go, sorry. You'll be able to get back in soon. See Lasky missing the first corner, possibly out of pit lane or starting a flying lap, breaking off the front wing, just letting off to let the AlphaTauri go on by. Still yet to set a lap. And crashing even off into the right hand side, breaking the front right wheel. You can see how that happened again, moving coming up the hill, understeers a little bit with a broken front wing, moves and hits the right hand side barrier. Replay system seemed to be working there that time. Yellow is still there for that car, it's finally out of the way. OJ English coming across to finish first flying lap from 17th, moves up to 7th place, a 1:12.597, moving in behind his teammates with only 1:12.128. 3 cars still yet to set a lap, although one of them is not going to be able to. Really starts to set the precedent of what might just happen in the race. Yellow's coming out between sectors 2 and 3 for 2 cars, basically racing each other, the Alfa Romeo and a Williams. Also note, Blas went into the 10s with a 1:10.940 for the Alfa Romeo, very quick driver. English bounces off the left hand side wall, somehow doesn't even get any damage, surprisingly. Very lucky to get away with that without even end plate damage there, but it could be something on the side pod or potentially even the floor that we don't know about. Jumping over to the second AlphaTauri of Curly 7, a 1:12.760 to beat. He's definitely going very quick. Invalidates the lap and hits the right side wall, though doesn't get off as lucky as OJ is, breaking the end plate off the front right. Coming across, finishing another flying lap from a 1:11.255. Doesn't improve any, but might just be starting another one. We don't know, with this game sometimes being a little bit awkward with when it tells us drivers on an out lap or a flying lap. Jumping forward with King for the rest of the way round, again for the second time. 5 minutes remaining in qualifying. Going through the ending of Sector 1. Executes it basically perfectly. Not a purple first sector though. Heading into the casino hairpin section, a little bit wide on entry. Gets it all tidied up, rides a lot of curb throughout this section, then it is wide open throttle heading through the tunnel. Yellow's behind as the Alfa Romeo lets a Red Bull past. Gotta be careful not to cut too much over these chicanes, you'll invalidate your lap very easily if you're not careful. Purple middle sector for the McLaren driver, heads through the first chicane well, hits the left side wall a little bit. Tiny bit slow through the second chicane as well. Now heading into turns 18 and 19. A little bit wide on the entry first, but aborts the lap, heads into pit lane. Jumping over to Broughton in the Red Bull. Next car up is 1:12.6 to beat. Improves to a 1:11.831. It's going to be one of the Alfa Romeos of Wapier, doesn't seem to go off any, still at 13.9. Let's head on down to the Mercedes though. As we've seen the AlphaTauri have to go down the abort road. Or the escape road, sorry. Heading over to D75, first flying lap for him in the Mercedes team. The bar he sets for himself is a 1:11.090, just a little bit out of the 10s, but he can definitely do it if he goes again. Whether or not he'll have time to though after getting new tyres is a completely different story. Heading over now to Aston Martin of FV Pixels. Invalidated lap, heads into pit lane, nothing going to be happening there. Up next is Dorado in the Red Bull. It's a 1:13.4, he can definitely improve off of that. A little bit tentative around the final few corners. Gets it in a straight line, power wide open, DRS wide open. Moves up into 11th with a 12.809. We already seen Curly have to head down the escape road, possibly going to be starting another, yep, indeed starting another lap, doesn't decide to go into pit lane for new tyres. Broughton does head into pit lane. Let's head over now to the Alfa Romeo of Weepier, heading around for another flying lap, so 1:13.969 to beat. 14th place. Does improve to 1:13.144 up to 13th. A lot of cars heading out of pit lane now to get ready for their final runs. Only 2 minutes left of qualifying. One of those cars being the Alpine of VNT Rosenqvist, the only car left running still yet to set a lap. You can see in qualifying it can get very congested through that section. It'll be even worse come the first lap of the race. Little bit wide on the exit there for Rosenqvist heading into the tunnel. Doesn't really matter though. I'm not sure if it's going to be their out lap or their flying lap. Judging by the timing tower though, it's going to be their out lap, but it misses the chicane, ruins and invalidates the lap. Weepier also retired, we're going to be seeing if we head on board having there. Very awkward place, that's basically on the racing line, hoping that car gets out of the way very quickly. Otherwise we might see other incidents come of that. Very aggressive on the turn in there for Rosenqvist, having to get right on the opposite lock to get it caught again. Set on board, 1 minute left in qualifying, see what they do for their last attempt at a flying lap in qualifying. First corner, very, very neat, however, runs wide into the outside wall. Doesn't maximise use of the track space, however, gets the left and the right done very nicely, but again hits the outside wall just a little bit. Might be potentially some end plate damage there. Wide through the hairpin. Gets on the brakes well this time, makes the chicane, doesn't have to run over and invalidate the lap. Not the greatest through the chicanes. The Mercedes of D765 does not make the line. It's a 1:11.090 for him. Next car up to cross the line, going from 17th, no time set. They're only flying lap qualifying up to 14th with a 1:13.799. Tristan takes pole with 1:10.536. Next car up is going to be up to cross the line. Now it's going to be King, the McLaren. Slow moving, what looks to be a Williams, not going to be moving up any there, heading over the line. Aston Martin of Pixels, 1:12.638 heading to 10th. King aborts the lap very sideways into pit lane. Up next though is going to be Azzy, sitting a purple middle sector, very, very eager on the throttle low, losing the time a little bit there, losing the rear end. DRS wide open, it's a 1:10.5 to take pole. She does it with a 1:10.378. Heading over next, the Alfa Romeo of Blas. 1:10.683 for him, not going to get anywhere except for third. Heading over the Red Bulls up next of Broughton, doesn't improve from 7th, and that is it for qualifying as he takes pole to 1:10.378. Five different teams in the top 5, and a lot of drivers very close together. Post-qualifying at the Monaco Grand Prix for the 2023 FVC Summer Series, Azzy takes pole to 1:10.378 over WR Tristan and AlphaTauri with a 1:10.536. 1.5 tenths between them, and another 1.5 tenths down to third is Blyappa in the Alfa Romeo. Fourth goes to D765. Fifth and sixth to the McLaren duo of King and Harrison M. Broughton takes 7th. 8th goes to English, 9th goes to Baker, and 10th to Pixels. Moving on down the grid, 11th goes to Curly, Eldorado's in 12th, Scarlett 42 in 13th. Return of Weepier is in 14th. Rosenqvist takes 15th. Crashing out early, only setting one lap, is Apex in 16th. And not even getting to set a lap is Saskia in 7th. Welcome back to the 2023 FVC Summer Series Round 4 at the historic Monaco circuit. Qualifying is over, as Airedale taking pole position by 1.5 tenths over the AlphaTauri of WR Tristan. Another 1.5 tenths back goes the Alfa Romeo of Bloyap at 51.69. Late joiner into qualifying as well was D765, just missing out a final flying lap. Currently sat in 4th place. 5th and 6th heads to the duo at McLaren of King and Harrison M. Both of these drivers are very quick in their own right and definitely capable of getting podiums and maybe even a couple of wins this season. Down in 7th place is the Red Bull of Broughton, and 8th and 9th heads to the second duo over at Williams of OJ English and Simon Baker. Best qualifying so far of the season, I'm pretty sure, goes to Pixels in 10th. Not been much higher in the race, and you can just see how much congestion that hairpin is going to cause come the first lap. 11th goes to Curly 7 for the second AlphaTauri driver, and the second Red Bull is down in 12th with Eldorado. Alpines begin down in 13th place, Scarlet 42. Not great qualifying for either the Alpines car, but we have heard out of that team their setup is not great for this round. 14th goes to Rippier, our returnee driver, all the way back from 2022 Summer Series, if I am not mistaken. And VNT Rosenquist will take up 15th place, only getting a single flying lap, and not a great one at that, but still manages to beat out Apex, who's down 16th after crashing out and setting only a one single flying lap as well, and Saskia, who is down in 17th, who only managed to set a couple of corners before crashing out. Moving back up to the front, hopefully we'll get a better camera angle this time round for the start of this race. Also to note as well, I've heard multiple reports that Azzy is not feeling the greatest. Very ill apparently this week and doesn't have much talking in her. We'll just have to see how she fares with the rest of the grid being in almost top condition. I cannot see the lights anywhere. 5 red lights are on. Lights out and away we go. The McLaren's getting a very good launch, especially Harrison M, who's already jumping up the field. Up the front of the field, Azzy seemed to get the better launch. Tristan didn't get a great one. The Alfa Romeo is already going around a block. It's a very car crash carnage. It's a complete traffic jam at the start. Azzy, Tristan and D75 are getting away well, as is Broughton. Apart from that, it was a immediate spin round for Blah and a carnage at the first corner. Cars getting caught up nearly 3 and 4 wide in some places. Heading through, it's multiple. There's already, you see Red Bull without a wing, as is a Williams without a wing. Trying to go too wide, it's never going to work through there. There's a Haas without a wing and many broken cars. Not quite sure what happened there, but it is complete carnage out the middle of the field. Anyone below really 6th place, losing out very, very heavily. You can hardly break into that chicane without a front wing, and a lot of cars are going to be missing it there. A couple definitely running over it too. On the steering, and there's Simon into the right hand side wall. Getting away with it though, not breaking off a wheel yet, but side pod and floor damage could be coming your way if you're not careful. I would not be surprised if we see half the grid heading into pit lane here. Moving up through the field. 4 cars heading into pit lane. Another couple of them not even getting around for having their own incidents. Apex, Salmon, Scarlet and Dorado all having to come into pit lane, possibly to change their front wing. Saskia does not have to and moves on by. Azzy already gaining a 1.3 second gap at the top of the field, but Broughton is putting the pressure on D765 through the middle sector. Jumping on board of the Red Bull for the battle for 3rd is already heating up. Mercedes getting a much better launch into the tunnel. A little bit tentative for Broughton heading through the first of chicanes, turns 10 and 11. Might potentially be something wrong with that Red Bull as well that we can't see. Sam Baker, 3-second penalty for corner cutting. Last lap again goes to Azzy, 1:13.499 as we set the first true flying lap of the race. DRS also enabled confirmation from race control. Harrison M getting back into the session down 6th place, but King is out and retired in pit lane. A big loss for the championship hunt there for King, no doubt. Scarlett having to head into pit lane for the second time, I think. The second Alpine of Rosenqvist up in 11th. Moving up a little bit though, there's another battle heading up for what I believe is judging 7th place or so. We also missed Broughton getting ahead of D765. Is anybody watching in chat that wants me to ride along or have a look at anybody, please let me know at any point. Otherwise I'm just going to be jumping up and down the grid having a look at what battles there are. Saskia Mall 3 penalty for multiple or corner cutting, my apologies. Drag up the penalty amounts at this stage in the race. Falling down as well, D765 into pit lane, falling down to 10th, an early tyre change for him. And then board a three-way fight for 6th. Pixels luckily getting away from the carnage at the start, but is seeming to move up from 10th up to 6th. It has two very quick drivers pressuring from behind. And down the field, cars are getting a little bit spread out. Apex getting closer to Radar though for 13th. All points by position, but keep an eye on the times, but we will not keep an eye on the actual on-track action for them down there. Apologies for the lag that is occurring, I'm not sure what is happening there. Frame drops from the server, we're not having the greatest time. Currently heading into pit lane, jumping out of the way of the Alfa Romeo, who is now free to try his best to catch up to Pixels in front. We've already got cars going a lap down as well. Saskia is in front of teammate Pixels. Lap down. We'll also jump up ahead, see Harrison M trying to get past English for 4th place. Aston Martin of SAS getting out of the way for the Alfa Romeo and teammate Aston Martin. A lot of inside curve there for Harrison M trying to catch, not what you want to be doing. It can throw you off if you're not careful. Much better launch as well for... But it's an equal launch really for both of them. Apex getting past Dorado for 13th place up the climb out of the first corner. Replay mode at the start was really amazing. Thank you, Impulse. All the graphics there that you've seen were made by Scarlett. Although the idea for the replay was me, all I done was put the system into use. I have a feeling it is causing some problems with the broadcast. VNT Rosenqvist, multiple warnings, 3-second time penalty. Lara getting past Pixels for 6th place behind. Likely DRS assisted as well down the main straight, and indeed it was. We just see the DRS flap slamming shut on the Alfa Romeo in front. Heading back up to follow along again this battle for 4th place, the closest one currently on track and highest up. Rosenqvist heading into pit lane, getting an early stop in as well. Around the gap is increasing. English falling off the back of the McLaren of Harrison M, who is charging up the field the best that he can. Closest cars on track now seem to be only one group within a second of each other. Is going to be for battle for 10th place. It's another Williams against the AlphaTauri. Weeper, a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. Second Alfa Romeo driver not having the greatest of returns, not a great qualifying, and already got a penalty on lap 7 of 39. It's a lot of laps here. Very short track, but the corners come at you consistently all the way through. As things are calming down, why don't we have a quick look at our previous winners heading over here. Last time out, 2022 Summer Series was won by Scarlett, currently driving for the Alpine team. It's a 3-second time limit for multiple warnings for Curly. We've seen cutting the first corner there from the replay, or not from the replay, from the live view. A little bit aggressive, definitely must be feeling the pressure from the Williams behind. However, still has 3 seconds less in penalties than that car, but that can quickly rank up if you're not careful, especially here where there is nowhere to go and a lot of places to easily cut, even accidentally. 2 years ago, 2021 Summer Series was won by Azzy, who's currently leading the race, broadly getting past Tristan for second place. As Tristan heads into pit lane, it's a 3-second penalty for Eldorado now. We see Simon Baker making a move around the outside. It's a very risky out to go, has to cut across the chicane. Must give that back to avoid getting another penalty, does indeed. Tristan falling down to 6th for getting out of pit lane. We'll keep an eye on this battle down here, but jumping up to the battle for 4th place between OJ English and Loya, for I don't know why it was showing the AlphaTauri there, a little bit of a glitch from the broadcast. Both of these drivers don't want to give anything out, however you've got to be careful and just take a little more caution throughout the corners. Losing a 10th here occasionally would be better than gaining a 3-second penalty by the end of the race. D765 getting past Pixels for 7th place as Pixels heads into pit lane. Scarly 42, a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. Law looking for any way past the Williams driver that he can. However, you're never going to make it there. You've got to be a madman if you're going to dive down there. Hits the back of the Williams though. A little bit of contact, thankfully doesn't send either of them into any bother. However, that will give the incentive to the Williams driver to just hurry it up a little bit, try and get as much of a distance as they can from the Alfa Romeo driver, because he is charging as hard as he can to get up there. The longer these two battle though, the quicker Tristan can catch up to them and even pass them himself. Battling obviously to slow you down, you're trying to be more aggressive and trying to be more defensive. Using more of the track and not optimizing the racing lines, it can cause you to lose positions if you're not careful with it. Up the hill and through the turns, you see are still the closest two together. However, that battle for 10th place, actually the battle for 9th place now, is still getting quite close. We'll keep an eye there. Things are calming down a little bit again. Let's take a look at the standings so far. Azzy leading the championship and leading the race by a 13.5-second gap nearly. Just ahead of Scarlett, who's in 2nd, and in the race Scarlett is completely out of the points, so that gap's only going to get bigger. Also not going to be scoring any points this time round is King, who is only down in 3rd place, not where you want to be. Due to the way I have this set up, I can't quite tell who else is in the standings. I'm pretty sure it is fourth, the Alfa Romeo of Blah, who we are currently watching, trying to get anywhere up he can. Definitely a very deserving driver, a very quick one at that. The battles further down the grid are getting very close together. Scarlett getting past the second Alpha of Weepier out of the hairpin. Just missed how that happened. However, they're chasing down Apex, who is missing a front wing. That second Haas is not having the greatest of days. Crash out in qualifying and multiple times damaged here in the race. Going to be having to fend for his life heading into here. Has to run over chicane, getting a 3-second penalty for corner cutting. Nothing he could do there. If he braked any earlier, he'd be risking hitting the cars behind him, running into him. However, that is not his job to worry about. Going to be a complete roadblock getting through this section. Slow car in front, and there's really only one line throughout the entirety of this. He's going to have to keep it to the inside and get into pit lane as quickly as he can. Thankfully gets out of the way. Also heading to pit lane is the second Alpha of Weepier. Jumping back up to the front. Second Alpine of Rosenquist just getting out of the way a little bit, as I think OJ has possibly disconnected from the session. A little bit of ghosting going on there. Seems to be underway and fixed though. Possibly not a disconnect, but just a bit of lag in the lobby. Between them, Blah having a look down the inside, trying to make anything work. Doesn't quite have enough room to do anything though. However, again, the longer these two battle, the closer Tristan is getting. That gap was 4 seconds, it's now only 1.5. That AlphaTauri is gaining on them and gaining quickly. Might have been a little contact with the inside wall there for the Williams driver. Getting away with it though. As Weepy are retiring from the session, up ahead of these two, hitting into the left hand or the right hand side of the wall, sorry. Very similar accident to what happened in qualifying just a bit further on. Thankfully not on the racing line as much, no cars there. It might be able to get cleared away without a safety car, possibly. However, taking the jump into pit lane, English is going to react as if there is one, but there is not. No safety car, not even a virtual. English dives into pit lane, that leaves Blah to try and get away as quickly as he can from Tristan. However, there's only 9/10 of a second there. Multiple warning penalty for pixels, 3 seconds in total. And that spreads the field out a little more. We'll jump down to this battle for 9th place on track. Still a penalty between them. They're the only cars within a second of each other. It looks like a broken front wing though, possibly for that AlphaTauri car. Didn't quite see it on the front. Indeed it is. There's no front wing in that car. He's got a very long way to go to defend that. He's just not going to be able to do it. Losing out just after the first corner. As Eldorado retiring from the session as well, let's head over to the Aston Martin there of SAS, see what happened. Completely in the middle of the track, that's very dangerous. Thank God for the ghosting there. Not going to be causing any difficulties to any of the rest of our drivers. Might get cleared away as well. Again, there's a big gap there before the next car heads along. And indeed it does. No safety cars yet. And that spreads out the grid. E765 is going to be trying to catch up to Tristan, who does not have those battling cars in front of him to slow down anymore. And encroaching very, very quickly up to the back of that AlphaTauri is the Mercedes driver. Surprised there was no safety car or virtual safety car, to be honest. As am I, nothing at all. That car was right in the middle of the track. The ghosting wasn't on there. That would have been a very, very big incident for the Aston Martin of SAS. Not quite sure what the settings are like. I'm not the one that sets up the lobbies heading into these races, so that'll be a question for either Pixels or Apex, whoever set up the lobby. But anyway, past D75 was all over the back of Tristan. Doesn't get a good as run down out of the straight. Although the DRS is trying to help as much as they can. Tristan hits the left side hand wall though. Gonna be losing some speed from that. Guessing safety cars turned off because Monaco. I am not sure, Demi. Although there are two incidents that definitely should have brought out at least a virtual safety car, but that is not a question for me. As Tristan misses the braking zone, has to run off into the escape road. As Tristan gets a 3-second plane for multiple warnings. Strike limits just not doing him any favours there, and that spreads out the field even more. Something we missed was Azzy heading into pit lane for their first tire change of the race. Currently a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. Heading on down the field, let's actually take a look for the battle for 8th place currently between Salmon and Scarlet. 3 seconds penalty worth, or 3 seconds worth of penalties more for the Williams in front, however they are still having to get by on track. Yellow flags for one of the Hasses there, as a McLaren too, through the hairpin. I think that was going to be Harrison M spinning out. Possibly Curly, another penalty for multiple warnings. That's within 9 seconds for him. Still trying to look for any way by. Scarlet's going to be hoping silently that Simon comes into the same problem that Tristan had, missing the braking zone. However, it all entirely depends just how much pressure that Williams' driver is under. Not as quick through the corner as the Alpine is. Harrison now heading to pit lane. Two dots close on track there. As Scarlet loses the front right end plate. Possibly even the front left. They're running into the back of the Williams, possibly. Wing damage is not what she wants, trying to chase down the Williams in front. So I'm going to put a hamper on it, but OJ doesn't quite get it right. Has to take over the escape road. Scarlet there, nowhere to turn for them. Scarlet heading into pit lane, as is the Williams of Salmon. Both of them are in. Might have actually said one of them was OJ, my apologies if so. Purple first sector for Tristan. Might potentially be going for the fastest lap. Not currently sure who holds what. Take a quick look at the tyres everyone's on. Most people are opting for the hard compound tyre to finish out this race. Some of them on the mediums heading onto the hard shortly, one of them being blah. With Apex being the sole outlier on the soft compound, long way to go for him on those compounds for the rest of the race. However, it might just be what he needs to try and get up any. As we see Curly disconnected from the session, as well as Weepier leaving after crashing out a couple of laps ago. Yellow flags at the final few corners as Tristan's at the fastest lap of the race, a 1:13.390. That will have been Rosenquist at the final corners, turn 18 and 19. Let's jump up to the front though, as Azzy is catching up to the back of Rawson very quickly. I need to quickly grab another driver into the race. We'll try and keep an eye on this as best as we can. As you're getting past, down into the first corner, going to be too wide. Very nearly hitting the outside wall. Broughton just having to get out of it, and a little bit of a wobble coming out of the corner. Just getting a 3-second play for multiple warnings. Apologies for heading into the pause when issuing by a driver back there. We may have missed a little bit of it. However, that promotes Azzy up into the lead again of the race. Going to be extending her championship charge out by another 26 points. 25 points, sorry, the fastest lap is not currently held by her. .113.357 again by WR Tristan, fastest lap of the race. Scarlett retiring as well in the background, trying to jump over there. Not quite sure what's happened. I don't think we'll be able to see what has happened. Trying to get a look, that is. Not quite sure, didn't get to see it. Wasn't able to have a look. But that is disaster for Alpine again. Remember, Scarlett was second in the standing, so it is going to be a bigger gap now for Azzy up at the front of the table. The two closest championship rivals are both out of the race. The driver down in fourth is only running in 5th place. Drivers are spreading out again around the field. If there's anyone you want me to ride on board with, let me know through the chat and I will head over them for a couple of laps or until something else happens. Apart from that, everything seems to be calming down for a while. The closest gap is 2.5 seconds. We'll head over to that for now. While we wait though for anything to happen, we have our companion app. Remember, jump in there, you can see all the results, both past and present, as well as vote for your driver of the day through any of our races. We do have the game award, however, there's also the award there that you can vote for whoever you think deserves it the most. Leave that on screen for a couple more seconds so you can be able to get the code. However, at any point you can just refer back, rewind the stream and get it again. Rawdon heading into pit lane, that'll take Azzy up into second, or sorry, D765 into second place, not Azzy. Heading up the field to 4th place, the battle for 3rd between Broughton and Harrison M. McLaren's going to be looking for any way past. Hard compound tyre though, but it depends how worn down those mediums on the Red Bull are. 3-second penalty for Rosenquist for multiple warnings. Yellow in sector 2 for Apex, missing the braking zone likely into the casino section. This will be a little bit of a corner cut there from the McLaren driver. Not much of it. Rosenquist coming out of pit lane very close to the back of Curly up the hill. There's also a Haas ahead of Azzy. We'll keep an eye on them as they head into the casino section. There's a big sideways moment there for the Red Bull. Yellow flag sector 2 for the Alpine of Rosenquist getting into bother. Keep an eye on this battle as well. I'll jump over quickly to the battle for 7th place between Pixels and Tristan. Pixels not getting a great run out of the final corner. Sam Baker 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. That totals his up to 12. Pixels again not getting the greatest run out of the first corner. Just able to stay ahead, ever so slightly ahead of the charging AlphaTauri. Currently getting past Apex through the, what I believe might have been even the hairpin for 10th place. Pixels 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. As Pixels, in fact, get passed by Tristan. Another 3-second penalty for Simon Baker for corner cutting. That's going to be very close to him getting a disqualification, I would say. Thinking about the second close battle, Curly's got a broken front wing, 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. Apex is going to be charging up against him, trying to get past anyway. This is for 10th place, the final single paying point. However, Curly's going to be heading into pit. In fact, no, he's not heading into pit lane. Instead, decided to go another lap without a front wing. That's still a very long way to go. 15 laps without a front wing is never going to happen. Just trying to defend as well as he can, stay in the points, but it's a pointless effort. Personally, I would have just headed into pit lane, took the wing change and try and charge up then. Just the Apex has changed off of the softs onto the hard compound tyre for the remainder of the race. Also getting blue flagged by the AlphaTauri of Tristan. Ghosting thankfully coming to effect though, not going to be too much of a problem for them. The Rosenquist as well out of the final corner, just having difficulties. The AlphaTauri completely sideways through the corner. Apex not able to take advantage though from the track being blocked or possibly not getting the ghosting. Running a little bit wide, hitting the left hand side wall, trying to catch up. I'd be surprised again if Curly doesn't go in this time, but he seems to be doing his best defending. And indeed he stays out again. Apex is the one heading in this time. Heading up to the battle for 3rd place between Broughton and Blah. Broughton heading into pit lane, quickly quelling that battle. Promoting Blah up to 3rd and possibly a couple others further upfield as well. Out of pit lane comes Apex and to the side of the Alfa Romeo, but the ghosting taking effect and preventing any incident from happening there. As things quiet down again, not much view. Let's jump over to some of the drivers that we don't quite get to see as much of, as Curly still does not have a front wing. Heading over to VNT Rosenquist for the Alpine team, getting out of the way of a McLaren that is already a lap ahead. Up there, Apex getting ahead of Curly, who finally headed in to get a wing change. Rosenquist as well in. I'm pretty sure I've seen a broken front wing there. It's Harrison M, a 113.040. We're not far away from getting into the 12s. Indeed, a front wing change there for the Alpine driver. Jumping up here as it is the closest two cars on track, 1.7 seconds between them, now down to 1.6, 1.5, even before heading right all the way back up now to over 2 seconds. Curly 7 disconnected from the session again. I will quickly jump over, that is the wrong tab, whoops. Heading over to view FV pixels for the Aston Martin team. Looked to be a little bit of a corner cut there, heading through the first of the chicanes. Apologies for everything heading a little bit quieter near this point of the race. Still 10 laps to go. Closest gap between cars is about 4.8, 4.9 seconds. So until something happens, we're just going to be jumping around all the cars and see whatever is happening between any of them. Most interesting thing you're going to be able to see here is attempting to get Curly back into the session. Tristan, 3-second penalty for multiple warnings, putting his total up to 6 seconds. Three cars heading through all on different laps, so ghosting is not going to be letting any of the contact there potentially occur. Rosenquist retiring from the session heading over here, trying to find any way of looking at it. To be heading into possibly the left-hand side wall. Indeed it is. That's very reminiscent of a real-life accident of Ricciardo and Schumacher there. Seeing it there on the left-hand side, trying to get another view of it. Doesn't seem to be getting one. Car gets cleared away. No safety car again, surprisingly. That brings our total down to 12 cars left running out of our original 17. See on the steering wheel there of Sassia's car that she is on lap 28 when the leader Azzy is currently heading on to lap 32. Well, she keeps out of the way and doesn't cause any problems. I don't see any issue as it is due to the ghosting of lap down cars, preventing it from being any bother. McLaren of Harrison M is getting within a second of the Williams of English. We'll head over to take a look at that. Although OJ is carrying a 3-second penalty, it is still the two closest cars on track. Half a second now between them. Harrison M getting very close to the back of that, however, misses ever so slightly. The chicane having to jump right on the brakes to avoid getting a penalty. That will rock that gap right up again, up to 9/10 of a second. Just able to stay within the DRS range, down to 600 a second now through the first and only zone. Taking a look at the defending Williams. Doing a great job making that car very wide. House now having a look down the inside of the hairpin. Again, you've got to be a madman to make anything work there. It's a very risky and very slow corner, and it is barely a single car wide at the best of days. Slows down a little bit though through the tunnel. House now losing the end plate of the front wing, getting ahead. But that will definitely be a detriment for the rest of the race. Lap 34 of 39, he can barely slow down to get over the chicane. Has to run over the exit a little bit again, slowing down more than he would like to. He might be able to make the end of this race without having to go in, however, he heads into pit lane now to get that fixed. He'll definitely be losing his chance up there. D75 on the top compounds is a 1:12.948. Sandvik having a look at the inside again. Harrison M heading into pit lane, as is OJ. Two cars ending together means they will not lose any positions to each other, as Broughton is over 45 seconds away on the other end of the circuit. Keep an eye on these two, see who gets the better of the two pit stops. Obviously it's definitely going to be OJ. However, not far behind is the McLaren. Soft compounds for OJ and soft compounds for Harrison M. "4 seconds of gap, he has to catch up within 5 laps. It is definitely doable, however both of them are on fresh softs and have completely pristine cars. They are on a 112.5 on the soft compound tyres for Red Bull Racing. Let's head up to D765, who's charging down Blah in second. Azzy basically untouchable, over 25 seconds away. Might have come into bother actually, as that time gap's coming down hugely. Or for that, no, I think Azzy maybe head through pit lane onto the soft compound tyres for her, trying to just cover herself off at the end of this race. The only way this race does not get won by Azzy now if she has some monumental accident of her own. Given her track record, that is unlikely to happen, however. This is Monaco, and this is the FVC. Just in a 5-second penalty this time for corner cutting. Up to 11 seconds of total for him. Both the AlphaTauri drivers not having the greatest of days. 11 and 12 seconds of penalties between them. And Simon Baker a 5-second penalty for crossing the pit lane exit line. Up to 20 seconds for him. Mercedes getting very close to the back of that Alfa Romeo, trying to look for any way past that might come up. Couple of unpleasant words from one of our racers there in chat. Gotamungus or VNT Rosewood saying this track is actively damaging Formula 1 and needs to be removed immediately. Some people would definitely agree. It's 1:11.405 for Azzy, fastest lap of the race, up in first. But indeed, some people would definitely agree. The racing here is quite slow at some times, can be quite hectic at others, but it really does come down to the weather on the circuit. Up with 3-second penalty for multiple warnings, cutting across the first corner. Now all D765 needs to do is just stay within 3 seconds within the next 4 laps. Lap down Aston Martin of not quite sure who. Would head down and have a look, but then again these two cars are still within 6 tenths per second of each other. Also to note is Harsnam and OJ within 1.2 of each other. Keep an eye on both of these two as they progress. Scarlett saying in chat as well, Alpine implosion is definitely basically as neither car going to be scoring any points today. Broughton a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. His first of the race. Unfortunate that it is very close to the end. Also, statistic from Alpine saying they've tripled the damage done to the cars over this season in one single race. It's not went well for that team there, but unfortunately anything can happen in this series, and anything can happen especially at this track. It is one of the more demanding ones on the circuit, or on the calendar, sorry. But a single foot wrong anywhere on this track and it could bite back in intensely difficult for you. As he crossing the line, heading the final lap of the race. These two gaps stabilising about 0.7 of a second from each other. D765 likely not pushing as hard, just having to stay within those 3 seconds to get the podium position or get second place. Only half a lap left if this pass wants to be on track, but I doubt it'll happen. For the ending of the circuit, let's head over to our race leader. A very, very dominant victory, over 20 seconds in the lead. Heading around the final corners of turns 18 and 19. For the second time in the Summer Series, Azzy is a race winner and 2 race wins at Monaco. Down again, second place will indeed head on track to Blythe. It'll actually head, though, after penalties applied to D75. In fact, that might change. D75 getting ahead just at the line. Sam Baker, a 5-second penalty again for unserved penalty at the end. On track will go to D75 and Blah will take third place. 30-second gap all the way down to the McLaren of Harrison M. Couple lap down cars already finishing the race though. G.L. Broughton in 6th, Sam Baker 9th and Saskia in 12th. Heading into the wall though goes Harrison M just at the end of the race. Breaking off the front wing, not going to matter here though. Crossing the line takes 4th place and OJ will take 5th. Driver of the day heads in game to Blya 5169. However, remember we do have the companion app. Get signed up there. You can view all the results in the past and view all the results from this race, as well as vote for your driver of the day, who you thought done the best. It's another race win at Monaco for our Elsie, extending her lead at the top of the championship. Second place will head to D765 and third goes to the Alfa Romeo of Blah. It's a tough race for some and an easy race for others. Dominant victory at the Monaco circuit for Azzy, extending her lead at the top of the championship. Second place heads to D765 in Mercedes and third goes to Blah with a couple of seconds of penalties at the end, 26 seconds back from the lead. Fourth place just off the podium and heading the wall at the final few corners goes to Harrison M and 5th to OJ English. 6th place will go to Broughton and 7th to Pixels. 8th heads to WR Tristan, 9th to Sam Baker, and the final point also heading to Haas with Apex. 11th place heads to Curly 7 and our final finisher 3 laps down heads to Saskia. 13th place with the DNF starts, VNT Rosenquist and Scarly42 taking 13th and 14th, the most recent retirements out of the race, tripling their damage to one team in a single event. Eldorado takes 15th place, Weepio down 16th, and retiring in pit lane very early into the race is King down in 17th.